Good afternoon, and a warm welcome to the students, faculty, and our honored guests, the career connectors and panelists. My name is Katie Carlin, and I am honored and extremely excited to be this year's event director of the 19th Annual Dr. Lewis B. O'Donnell Media Summit. This year's theme is Behind the Scenes in Hollywood, and standing right next to me here is Assistant Event Director Kate Salamita. I am so thrilled to share this year's theme with you and showcase these amazing unsung leaders in the entertainment industry. Their jobs are the ones we don't usually get to hear about: producer, screenwriter, and publicist, just to name a few. But today, you will be hearing their engaging stories and experiences and how they were able to get to where they are today. Believe it or not, they actually were sitting right where you are today in these seats in Waterman Theater. Before we begin today's summit, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to everyone involved in this year's event. Our panelists, our moderator, and career connectors, who have all dedicated their time to be with us today. And most importantly, to share their experiences with you all, the students. Next, I would like to thank our faculty director, Dr. David Kreider, for being such a terrific advisor. His consistent support and guidance throughout these months of planning has really helped to make today a great, smooth success. Additionally, I'd like to thank our Dean's Committee. Each of you were able to smoothly coordinate so many of these necessary details fall into place from start to finish. Finally, I would like to express my appreciation and sincere gratitude and dedication to our e-board. Your constant enthusiasm and creative thinking has been key in promoting this event. Now, I would like to pass the mic to my Assistant Event Director, Kate Salamita.
Hello, my name is Kate Salamita, and I am the Assistant Event Director for this year's Media Summit. Firstly, I would also like to say a massive thank you to our Student Executive Board and our volunteers who have worked incredibly hard over the past 3 months to make this event as amazing as it is. We truly cannot thank you enough. We would also like to thank all of the students and our media organizations who are helping to broadcast this event to those who are unable to attend. In case of an emergency, we ask you to take note of the emergency exits located nearest to you. If for any reason you have to leave during the event, we ask that you do so quietly and respectfully. We also ask that you silence your phone throughout the event. If you need to record your attendance for class, please locate the QR flyers outside of the auditorium after this event. Following our fantastic panel, we have an amazing networking opportunity for you with our Career Connectors in Tyler Art Gallery located upstairs after the event. Thank you.
So before we begin today's panel, I'd like to give some advice to you guys, the students. Please be bold, ask questions, and network today. Really make the most of it today. We have some really amazing panelists and career connectors I want you guys to get to know. And now, please give a warm welcome to Provost and Vice President of Academic Affairs, Scott Furlong.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to welcome you today to the Dr. Lewis B. O'Donnell Media Summit. Whether you've been here in person or watching on our live stream, we're really happy that you're here today. When we think of Hollywood, we think of glitz, glamour, celebrities, the great actors and actresses, singers and dancers who grace the big screens in the movie theaters around the world and smaller screens in our living rooms and even in the palms of our hands. What we often do not think of are the people who make these performances happen. The people who write the words, execute creative visions through directing and producing, market these productions, manage the talent, and work long hours to set up and take down equipment. The people behind the scenes are the people who make Hollywood. We have 4 wonderful representatives of that world here with us today. Recent headlines in the TV and film industries have focused almost as much on what is happening off the screen as what we are watching on it. 2 years ago, an 11th hour deal prevented thousands of production workers from striking. Earlier this month, the Writers Guild of America ended a 5-month strike by reaching a new contract with Hollywood producers. The Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of TV and Radio Artists, are still on strike, and the sets of many movies and TV shows continue to be shut down. As streaming media takes on increasing attention, we are left to wonder how the entertainment industry will adjust in a way that continues giving us the stories and characters we love, while maintaining livable conditions for its employees. Perhaps our guests today have some of these answers. Before I hand over the stage to our moderator, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the Media Summit's founder, Louis A. Borelli, Jr. A 1977 graduate of SUNY Oswego and a pioneer in the cable television industry, Lou wanted to find a way to honor his longtime Oswego professor, Louis O'Donnell. Doc, as he was fondly known to students and faculty, was a true mentor. He provided students with good advice as they made their way through college and into the creative world of broadcasting. Thanks to Lou's encouragement and support from another one of Doc's former students, SUNY Oswego alumnus Al Roker, the Media Summit now bears the Dr. Lewis B. O'Donnell name. We are grateful for Lou and Al's commitment to the Media Summit. For 19 years, we've welcomed leading professionals to campus to tackle some of the most pressing issues facing the media industries. Today, that tradition continues, and we are proud to welcome today's incredible group of distinguished professionals as they dive into the theme of this year's program, Behind the Scenes in Hollywood. Moderating today's discussion is our own Megan Malzacone. Megan is a 2007 graduate of SUNY Oswego, and we are grateful to have her back on our campus as a career coach for the School of Communication, Media, and the Arts, as well as teaching in our theater department. Megan has worked in the entertainment industry for the past 15 years and as a professional actor, she has been in many regional and national touring theater productions, as well as film, TV, and commercial projects. To the future pros in the audience, we're thrilled you're here too, as we begin the 19th annual Dr. Lewis B. O'Donnell Media Summit. Megan, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, and I am beyond honored to be here today and to share the stage with such a wonderful group of panelists. So I am also really honored to be able to share a lot of the questions I have today because most of them came from all of you. So that's, I think, the most exciting thing about a media summit or in this environment is that the students really drive not just the planning of this event, but also the questions and the content. So let's get started, right? So our first panelist is Henri Houston, who is the Vice President of Account Services and Digital and Marketing Operations at Paramount Global, as well as an NYU certified life coach. Prior to his current role, Henri was the vice president who led marketing operations for HBO's programming sales division. At HBO, Henri and his team partnered with international broadcasters to produce marketing campaigns, promotional strategies, and interactive experiences for HBO's vibrant brand and award-winning programming, such as Game of Thrones, True Detective, Insecure. So as a member of the National Association for Multi-Ethnicity in Communications and Public Relations Society of America, Henri is also a very proud SUNY Oswego alumni. So thank you so much, Henri, for being here. Our second panelist is Juliette Giglio, who is a screenwriter and producer and also happens to be an associate professor at SUNY Oswego. She has sold 17 screenplays in Los Angeles, and her film credits include Disney's Tarzan, ABC's Noah, and Disney Channel's Return to Halloween Town. After deciding she was allergic to the sunshine, she moved to upstate New York to teach screenwriting here. And upon her arrival, she's written and produced 4 more movies, all including Christmas and Snow. Additionally, Juliette is a very accomplished author with her most recent book, The Trouble with Tinsel. Available now. I have my copy. She's a proud member of the Writers Guild of America, New York Women in Film and Television, and the Television Academy. Please join me in welcoming Juliette. Our next panelist, Jeremy Garelick, is a dynamic force in the entertainment industry, leaving his mark as writer, director, and producer. He began his journey as a writer on hit comedies such as The Hangover, and soon after ventured into directing, making his directorial debut with The Wedding Ringer, featuring Kevin Hart and Josh Gad, landing him a spot on Variety's prestigious 10 Directors to Watch list. Driven by a passion for coming-of-age comedies, Jeremy has co-founded American High, a production company dedicated to crafting films that explore the diverse journeys of characters navigating their formative years. Furthermore, Jeremy has directed many projects, including the highly viewed Netflix original Murder Mystery 2, starring Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston. But beyond his work in film and television, Jeremy's committed to fostering emerging talent. In 2018, he founded the Academy of American High, a nonprofit designed to offer aspiring filmmakers and innovators hands-on experiences, workshops, and internships. Jeremy's remarkable career continues to shape the world of entertainment, bridging the gap between entertainment and industry, and education. So thank you and welcome, Jeremy. And then last but certainly not least, we have Christy Sommers with 8 years of experience in nonfiction television industry. She holds multiple production credits across popular entertainment networks such as MTV, TLC, HGTV, Food Network, Travel Channel, and many, many more. Jumping from pre-production planning to directing shoots in the field, Christy now works in post-production as a story producer for MTV's Help, I'm in a Secret Relationship. With a focus on lifestyle content and docuseries, her prior producing roles range from hit shows like Cooking Channel's Man vs. Food and popular spin-offs of TLC's 90 Day Fiancé. Also a SUNY Oswego alumni, Christy spent the majority of her time here on campus focused on our student-run television station WTOP, where she served as the general manager her senior year. So please join me in welcoming Christy. So obviously a very impressive panel we have. So I think it would be really wonderful if you all wouldn't mind talking briefly about maybe some of the first jobs that you had that kind of started your careers and led you to where you are today. So, Henri, do you want to start with that?
Absolutely. Hello. Hello. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's so great to see all of you guys, and thank you for this opportunity. I think it's amazing to be here with you. The start of my career. So when I left Oswego in 2000, I moved back to New York City to become a theater director. So I majored in broadcast and communications, and I had a minor in theater. I got the theater bug, went back to New York, I went to work with George Wolfe and Mike Nichols. And it was very hard to find a job at that time. My godmother was a vice president at HBO at the time, and she said, you just need to come and make some money. What a gift to have a godmother at HBO to say, come and make some money. So I joined the tent pole, and I worked in multiple departments during my time. It's about maybe like 10 months. And I realized I was apprehensive about working at HBO because I'm a creative. So I didn't feel like I belonged in a corporation, or I'm not a businessman. That's how I felt about myself just as a professional. Plus, I had dreams and goals of getting Tonys. And in that experience, I learned that so much of business is like theater, right? There's a lot of business acumen that's a part of the experience that are transferable skills that move from theater into television and media. So it was quite remarkable, actually, to be in a space where I said, okay, this is where I belong. And I ended up in content sales, global content sales. So I was able to build my career over the years in content sales. So starting out as a temp, I became an assistant in content sales and then rose to vice president. So that was kind of the journey.
Oh, amazing. Thank you. Juliet, would you like to share?
Sure, mine's not as sweet as yours. But when I was at NYU grad school, I saw on the bulletin board they were looking for help with the Tribeca Film Center. And so I immediately got a job with this woman who was handling all the real estate for the building. And I'm like, sure, I'll do anything. But what I was able to do was to parlay that into reading screenplays for Robert De Niro, his Tribeca Productions. And that's what got me to realize that so many bad scripts were submitted to Robert De Niro, and they all had agents. And I'm like, I could probably do this. I could write an equally bad script. And that was really my first job. And then from there, I used, one thing I want to impress upon everyone here is your best contacts are each other. Because the way I got my first agent was through one of my classmates at NYU. And that's what really got my whole career going as a screenwriter. So it's not going to be people that are like 10 years older. It's all of you here.
I got my start. I wrote a bunch of scripts that I submitted to Robert De Niro's office.
I knew you looked familiar, or your name.
Yeah, unfortunately, nothing happened with those scripts. Thank you, Juliet. So my first job was it was an internship for a production company called Marty Katz Productions, and it was in, you know Marty?
I know Marty. I had a script with him.
What was the script?
It was what became the Broadway Brawler.
Yeah, I read that and I said, no, I'm just kidding. Payback. Remember all those De Niro scripts I wrote? So I went to go work I was an intern. I was one of 3 interns for Marty Katz, and I was really excited to be working at the Disney building with the Seven Dwarfs outside, and it was pretty incredible. Up until that point, I had no idea that people were behind movies. I didn't know people wrote movies or made movies. I just loved watching them. And my first day of work, I was handed a script, and they said, just, hey, read the script. And I remember opening up the screenplay, and it was like interior police station day. I was like, oh my gosh, this is how a script is written. And I just started reading the scripts, and I would make notes on the scripts. And probably by the third or fourth script, I would sort of say, oh wait, this doesn't really necessarily make sense here. It would make more sense. It seems like it might be a mistake, or if you put it here. And then I would be like, oh wait, wouldn't it be funnier if this person said this? And probably about halfway through that summer job, I kind of had that moment of, you know what, maybe I can do this. And I started writing. And I started writing that summer. And when I went back to college, that's all I wanted to do. And that's how I started.
Amazing, thank you. Christy?
Hi, everyone. I mentioned this in a class or two today as well, but when I left Oswego, I graduated. I took the summer off because I was exhausted. And then after that, I got a call from a friend who, like Juliet said, was basically my age, that had already left and found a position at a production company called Lion Television in New York City. And they were shooting a Travel Channel show called Follow Your Past in Newburgh. And I was near there. Like, I was living at home at that point. And she called me and she's like, Christy, you have to do this. You have to come and they're going to love you. And I was like, yeah, sign me up. So it was for 2 days. In the industry, we call it day playing. We day played for 2 days. And I gave 3,000%, because I knew if I made a good impression, maybe it would lead to something else. I think a lot of us leaving college, you want something full-time instantly. It's not that simple sometimes in our industry. So luckily, they did like me. And a couple weeks later, they called me for an internship. That was in the office, and I would go in every day. And then 4 weeks later, they offered me an office PA position on a cooking channel show called Junk Food Flip. And it kind of all went from there.
That's amazing. I think it's so important. That's why I want to start with this question, because all of our students are still navigating the different paths that they have. And it's nice to hear, you're the shining examples of all, their end goal, but you all started in such different areas. And I think it's really important. And Christy, I would love for you to go further. We talked a little bit about freelancing and how that's how you really believe in freelancing and that you can make a career in that.
I do. I think that when I was sitting where you guys were, the thought of freelancing was absolutely terrifying to me. I would have been like, that ain't going to be me. I'm not going to be freelancing. Freelancing is an amazing opportunity. And, it's just, you're able to build your own journey as a freelancer in a sense where the projects are shorter. They're 2 months to, right now I'm finishing up my current show and it's been a whole year. And you really are able to kind of figure out what things you like to work on. Do you like food shows? Do you like, murder discovery ID shows? Do you like, things like the Kardashians, So you're able to dabble, and while you do that, you not only grow and figure out what departments you like to work into, whether that's production management or producing, but also you build your network as you grow. And then you can continue forward on the path that you genuinely do love to do with those connections. So, and you're also able to build your own schedule as well, which is, really nice in a sense. I could go on and on forever, but if you want to chat with me about freelancing after, you can. And my biggest thing is don't be afraid of it. And it's really helpful to build your path.
Great. Thank you. I would love to talk about the writer's strike. I think that is such an interesting topic, and Juliet and I have had many a discussion today about that, and I would love to hear your thoughts on that and what positive outcomes have come from this strike. And Jeremy, I'd love for you to weigh in because you wear so many hats between producing, directing, and writing. I would love to see your thoughts on the outcome and any positive takes you have.
I don't know if I'm the best person to answer this question because I received a lot of emails from the Writers Guild and from my team leaders in my union with like very, very, very detailed analysis of what came out of it. And to be 100% honest, I haven't read them.
Okay.
So I don't really, I don't fully know. I think it just everyone seemed excited, and all my team they seemed really excited by the fact that it ended. Everyone was really strong. I marched.
Where'd you march?
I marched at
New York
Fox.
Or LA?
Not
I went
in,
to LA.
yeah, I did it at Fox. I marched in LA, and it was, just what was really great for me. And I don't know if you had the same experience as a writer. You're often in a room by yourself. And I got it. It was a kind of a social. It was an opportunity to walk with my idols, and really you're walking, and all of a sudden it's oh, there's Larry David, and you're just seeing all these people whose scripts that I read and whose movies I loved, and suddenly we're all walking in solidarity, and it was really fun. It was really fun. I'm really glad it was settled because we need to get back to work. Everybody needs to get back to work, and I hope the screen actors settle. As of 5 minutes ago, before we came out, I haven't heard anything, but we have several movies that we're waiting on these strikes to be resolved to get into. So. That's my answer. I think it was a positive outcome. Everyone seemed excited. Juliet, what do you think?
Yeah, so we were inundated with emails, and I didn't read a lot of them, but I did go to a final wrap-up meeting where we were exceedingly happy with the results, and we really got most of what we wanted. I mean, there was a certain amount of money we wanted to get up to, and we didn't get that, but we settled the AI issue. We have now Netflix and all the streaming people have to be honest about the residuals and give us residuals, and there's all these very specific levels. Like if a movie is seen a certain amount of times, a lot in the first 20 days, there's all these specific details. But yes, we were very, very happy. And I was also in the 2007 strike. Were you in that one? Yeah, and I would have to say that one was brutal, but all the benefits we got from that, I now reap those benefits. And so I like to tell my students that as hard as it was last year for all the seniors graduating, and they went into this world where there was no work, but I'm look, we're paying it forward, and things are going to be so much better because of the strike, and I really do believe that. I think without these strikes, nothing happens. I mean, we wouldn't have health insurance. We wouldn't have a pension if people hadn't struck back in, I guess, 50s or 60s. And we're a very strong union, and now I'm a novelist too, and we have no union for novel writing. There's nothing. So I think it was a very positive thing, absolutely. And I think we're sort of paving the way too for the whole AI issue as well. AI is going to affect all the white-collar industries, and we were really the first ones to really go up against the big companies about this. And we're a small union. There's only 9,000 of us. And when I first joined, there were only 4,000. We're tiny but mighty. And I think we are feeling very empowered. Yeah, go.
What was the result? What was the result of the AI?
AI. Yeah. So the issue of the AI.
Sorry, I didn't mean to steal the question.
But this is actually maybe interesting. The result of the AI is that they are not allowed to use AI. They cannot say, hey, AI, let's make a Christmas movie with 4 daughters and 1 dead dad, and they all have a horse farm. Okay, sounds like one of my movies. Wait. But they can't do that and then turn around and say, hey, Juliet, here's our script idea. Now we want you to rewrite this. Here's the script that our AI wrote, and I'm suddenly making half the money. I'm sharing my residuals with some chat bot, whatever. And so that cannot happen. at all. They cannot use AI to generate projects or say, we've created this project with AI. And that was a big win. However, we as screenwriters are allowed to use AI. So we're allowed to use it if we want to use it to create our projects. But that was a very big win. And yay for us. So yeah. This is SAG is still really dealing with AI. So.
Yeah. We're dealing
Yeah,
with
at the end of the day, they decided they were losing, they were hemorrhaging money, and they needed to settle. I mean, that's my take.
Great. Well,
It was good, Jeremy. Did I save you a lot of reading time?
Yes, thank you. I was actually told at some, first of all, I'm not a great reader, but I was told at some point, like, it's good to not read stuff. That's my advice to everybody, don't read stuff. No, it's good. You know, there's so much out there that's going on. There's so much, there's so many people reporting things. It's good to actually say to somebody, hey, what's going on? Can you, and kind of just get people's perspective. It's also a good icebreaker if you have nothing to talk about. So, anyway. Don't read is the lesson.
Except if it's from your professor. Read from your professor.
Unless it's an assignment. Good. Well, speaking of AI, I would really love, Henri and Christy, your take on how AI is affecting the industry within your worlds, if at all.
Christy, you want to jump in? And then I'll pick up from you, Dal.
Right now, as a story producer, I'm working with raw footage. And you're building a story from there, or as we call it, string outs. You're pulling the best moments and you're creating an outline for an episode, scene by scene. And so far, my area in post-production has not been impacted. And I'm very grateful for that. But Juliet mentioned earlier in our breakout session, that doesn't mean it won't happen eventually. And it is important to have protection for those sorts of things. I'm hoping we're a little ways away when it comes to actually, putting footage together. Yeah. But who knows? And, in unscripted, we're mostly non-union. So we function a little bit differently. And there are some gray areas. I spoke with Juliet and you about it earlier. There are some independent production companies that make unscripted shows that do abide to the WGAE or West, East rules, and they revisit contracts every year to ensure that certain people and certain positions are making a flat rate of this and establishing this amount of vacation days, and these people are absolutely getting overtime. So it's nice, but not every production company has it. And there are unscripted shows that are now unionizing as well. We spoke about Amazing Race just got unionized. Those long-running shows, I think Ridiculousness is working on it. And The Bachelor, I believe, is unionized as well. So we'll see, the future's still ahead is a huge win for scripted, and, hopefully with the Actors Guild it goes well, and maybe we'll be next, so we'll see.
Yeah, I intentionally wanted the creatives to talk about the experience first because from the business perspective, there is like this trifecta of challenges we have, or I guess the entire trifecta is a challenge. So we have tech, who was like, absolutely, let's dive into this new tech, right? Then we have the creatives who are like, what does that actually mean? Does it take away from the creative work that I'm putting together? Am I gonna lose my job? And then you have legal, who I work very closely with at the company, did at HBO and now at Paramount, who are absolutely losing it because there's so many opportunities for lawsuits, for issues across, so there's no protections when it comes down to the artist, the brand, the craft, the storytelling. So it's an interesting experience because there's a lot of excitement, and in tandem, there's this idea of we want to make sure we get it right, and it's moving so fast, right? And there is value to the experience. Our creative team just came up with a whole entire campaign using AI, and it was stunning. It was fabulous. We had to trash all of it because the legal piece isn't baked yet. So from a creative perspective, you should have that power. From the business side, we're still trying to iron out the details from a legal perspective.
Oh, that's so interesting. I know. I would love for you to talk a little bit more about the digital marketing and social media and like when you're making a marketing campaign for projects, and because we have a lot of students who are really interested in that. And I don't think there is a single student here that is not on some sort of social media. So it'd be really interesting to see how you use social media, how you use digital marketing for companies, and get kind of what skills they can be using with that.
Yeah, this is a good one too. Sorry, guys. It's interesting. We just finished a trade campaign earlier this year where we highlighted the portfolio programming. So if you guys, I'm sure you're familiar with Paramount, right? Okay, good. Good. Wherever I work, I'm giving them props. And it was very interesting because Paramount has a smorgasbord, as I like to call it, of content and stories. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. I call Paramount the Google of the media industry because there's something for everyone, whereas HBO was very boutique. So it was interesting to look at how we would position programming on the social media platforms, specifically for Instagram. So what we have to do is look at the whole entire portfolio of all the different programs that we have that are hits, look at the claims that we have in PR and across communications, and then figure out what's going to really speak to the audiences. What are they going to react to? So it's a different way of kind of looking at the social media experience when it comes down to being a platform to promote our brand overall. And also promoting the brand, the Paramount brand, and the platforms that the content actually lives on. Like Sisters on BET is a Paramount product, right? Or Yellowstone, right? Yellowstone is on NBC, I believe, and on. So it's this whole idea of how do we own the content. So we look at it from that perspective, from a strategy, lens. When it comes down to the creative piece, I have to tell you guys, it's not as creative as I would like it to be, because we do have a framework of brand that we need to live in quite often. The beautiful thing about it is that we do sit in rooms and really look at different iterations. Paramount, and I'll leave it here because I can talk about this for a long time. I didn't realize I was into it so much. Is that Paramount's brand book and creative lens is a spectrum, whereas most companies that you work for, they have like one specific goal. It's gold and green, right, here at Oswego, but there's so many things you can do with it. So we have this spectrum of expressive to like regal. So because there's so much content, and in the marketing experience, you want to be able to tell stories to different people because we have such a diverse catalog of programming. So that's the kind of rich experience that we have when it comes down to marketing on social media. So it's really about highlighting the claims, what's going to really speak to the consumer, and that changes like season to season, really.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. That's so interesting. And speaking of interesting, my creative folks, how do you approach developing new film and television products? I mean, you all have very different genres you live in. How do you approach developing fresh, exciting TV product?
Well, when I'm coming up with a new script, I try to write something that I want to see. And that's where I begin. And I also tend to write a lot about what I know and where I am right now. So when I was first starting out, all my scripts were about getting married and weddings. And then along the way, they became more about like 4-quadrant families. And now I'm venturing into grandma space. So, but yes, I try to write that's when I'm developing. That's what I think about. And I think over the years, I know that I don't want to write horror, and I'm not going to write sci-fi. I've tried. It's not that good. And there's a certain space I like to live in, but really I like to write heartfelt stories, uplifting stories, things that make people feel good. So that's where I always start. And I should say I've written with my husband for a long, long time. And so that's interesting when you have a writing partner. And a lot of people do in Hollywood.
But Julia, you have great grandma stories, though, that we're going to hopefully experience sometime soon.
Yes, we
Just
will.
want to say that out loud. Look
Soon.
for that.
Hopefully in 2 years. Okay. You're creative too, Jeremy.
Yes,
You
all of
are.
you,
It's
my
okay.
creative folks down here.
I just type into ChatGPT, come up with idea for a movie. Yeah, usually it's usually the concept of an idea comes from something that I'm going through in life. The Wedding Ringer, I remember it was originally called The Golden Tux. I was invited to somebody's wedding, and this is somebody I went to high school with, and I wasn't friends with that person at all. I mean, I knew that person, and I thought it was strange that I was invited, and then I never responded. Then I got a call saying like, hey, Rebecca and I, we'd be honored if you would be part of the wedding. You'd be an usher, part of the wedding. And I was like harried. I was working for Joel Schumacher. I was like, yeah, sure, yeah, like, of course I'll do it. Anyway, I committed to like going. Then became like a whole weekend thing, and I committed to going to and I realized that I was kind of I was telling stories about this guy and like making him look great, and I was sitting there and I was like, I should be getting paid for this, and I was like, oh, there's an interesting movie idea, like a best man for hire. And it's like that, it was just kind of a concept that I was like, oh, this is a fun concept. Somebody who works with me said that, I asked him what he was doing for his birthday, and he, I'm going to change, we're being live stream. So he said he was taking his girlfriend's sister. He was chaperoning her weekend, her homecoming weekend, because the girlfriend's parents didn't want to go do it, or they had something to do. And I was like, does that feel like it's like a test? Like he has to, and he was like, maybe it's a sort of a test. I was like, oh, that might be a good movie. So it's really just kind of being very aware of what's going on around me at the time. And sometimes it's just completely financially motivated. There's a job, and there's an opportunity that's like, Vince Vaughn asked me to do a movie for him. He's like, I want to do a movie called about a breakup, about a couple that just breaks up. And I didn't know I literally had no idea what the movie was, but I was like, oh, that sounds genius, let's do it. And then I started dating a girl, and we would just get into fights, and I would go in the other room and start like writing down the fights, and then I'd print it out and give it to her, and she'd take a pencil and she'd like cross out. She said, I didn't say easy, I said simple. Oh no, she said, I didn't say simple, I said easy, and that like became one of the scenes exactly in the film. So it's really just kind of paying attention to what's going on around you.
If you're like, I really need some content today, I'm going to pick a fight.
Yeah, I like it. There needs to be conflict in everything, so always my advice is don't read and pick fights with everybody. I think that'll take you a long way, yeah.
They're life lessons.
Life lessons.
All right, awesome, thank you. And then Christy, because you're coming from a whole different world, so.
Yeah, so there's a few ways to develop a show in unscripted television. There's, you could come from the outside world, like an independent producer in a sense that has a great big idea. And every production company has a development department, which is also another media job that you should know about. And they require what we call sizzles, and there does need to be some sort of budget in order to put that together, or an investment, if you will. And then they review it. If they love it, they bring it to network, and oftentimes they are executive producers that have experience, and they become attached to the show. Like they'll say in my contract, like, if this gets greenlit, I need to be attached. I need to be the showrunner, So that's a more logistical answer to your question. Yeah. But, it's also, it depends on the show. A lot of the times, these development departments, their whole goal is to develop shows. And they have managers, and I one time worked on, they'll hire staff to put together like a reel or a sizzle. So, I worked on a Food Network show gameplay test. So it was supposed to be a food competition show, and we would literally go to the Food Network studio, and we would try out every single scenario, what could happen. We would bring in real talent, test, who we think would work for the show, and, it's almost like a focus group type scenario, you know what I mean? And, in the coming weeks before that, you're developing in the office, how would we create a rundown for this, what's the outline, and, and then you pitch that to the network, and oftentimes the network will give notes. If they think it's beneficial to them, they'll invest the money up front and, and let you develop it. Sometimes it gets picked up, sometimes it doesn't, but that's the beauty of development, yeah. So, it depends.
That's great. That's so interesting. I think we talked about this a little bit, Christy, earlier about like qualities and skills that are like really essential because you're working in such a unique world. So we're talking constantly, and I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about this as a career coach here, about like what qualities and skills and things you could be working on now for our students that can really help them and prepare them for like worlds and jobs in the entertainment industry.
So that's a great question, and I might be biased about this, but truthfully, I don't think that there is a specific set of skills. I think it depends on what department you decide you want to do, but at the end of the day, there could be someone that knows Avid Media Composer like the back of their hand. There's someone that can know a Sony, a camera like the back of their hand, whatever it is. But the truth of the matter is, if someone approaches me as an organized individual that cares and wants to do good and shows up every day and puts in the work, they always are the ones that win in the end. And you don't always need those skills coming in. Of course, work on those skills, don't get me wrong. Definitely hone those skills in your classes so you can, understand and have that leg up moving forward. But you gotta want it. And, I spoke about this earlier too, but I think my number one piece of advice is like, when you are on set for the first time, the second time, the third time, have the free will. Like, that's my keyword I keep saying. Like, the free will to go up to someone and predict their moves, put bottles of water in people's hands, get their lunch order early, ask if someone needs to be picked up, because oftentimes PAs are driving people places. You're not going to be doing like incredible creative work on your first round, and I think it's important to recognize that and be totally prepared for it. It's perfectly normal and it's standard for the industry. So the more you show up and give 200%, the more likely you're going to get a call back quicker because they know in their minds, they remember, and they'll rely on you. And then you do get that opportunity to start doing those creative things or those production management things that you care more about. So yeah, putting in the work up front and just overall caring a lot is so important.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a cop-out to your question.
No, I don't think so. I think it's really important, right? I would imagine, Jeremy, I don't want to speak for you, but I imagine with your Academy of American High, when you're training new filmmakers and new and people who want to enter the industry, I mean, what advice do you give them as they're starting to, venture off?
Sure, yes. First of all, I thought your answer was pretty great, so I'm not going to repeat that same answer. What I would say is, and we started an academy probably a few years ago, and it was kind of, everyone was kind of doing it on their own time, and we're only recently have we organized a little bit more. We've got classes. We have workshops every single night on Zoom with literally the top of the top in the business. And it's available. I mean, you just have to go on. If you're a student, it's free. You just have to go on and you can click in and you respond, and if you get there in time. And I keep seeing the same people show up, and I get to know them. I'm on almost all of them. I get to know all of them. I've connected half of them with people. They're asking really good questions. The people who are leading these workshops kind of answer, they all have a similar answer, and it's amazing to hear. It's amazing to hear beyond just going 1,000%, 200%. It's loving being there, just loving what you're doing no matter what it is, because people want to be surrounded by people who are just loving their job, and they love the company they work for. They love the people. So we try as best as we can to have a culture at American High where everyone is kind of raw. We kind of want it to be rah-rah as much as possible. We want you to kind of be all in. And yes, the small things like making sure that somebody has a water. You never realize. Breaking down a C-stand. You don't, like, my first job on set, I worked for Joel Schumacher, who is a massive director, and I was working on a movie called Tigerland, and my job was literally to hold his water and to hold his peanuts. So I literally had water and peanuts, and I had to make sure that, and his phone, I had to hold his phone. And that was my job. I had to stand 5 feet from him at all times and make sure he has water, make sure he has peanuts. And I loved it because I was watching a movie getting made, and I was learning, and I was meeting everybody on set, and he was amazing. He was an incredible mentor, and if I realized I'm running out of peanuts or running out of water, and the shot's gonna I would run to get the water, and I'd run back, and I just loved being there. I took advantage of it when I was an intern for Marty Katz. He loved racquetball, and he asked me to make sure that he had racquetball games set up every single morning at 5 a.m., 5 to 5:30, 5:30 to 6 a.m., and that was before he had personal training. So I had to call a rotation of 30 people and see who's available, and if there wasn't anybody available, I had to go play with him. Right, so I would I'd play racquetball with him, and I loved it. It was incredible. Here I am, playing racquetball with this guy, and it was incredible.
Henri, do you have anything to add to that?
So I love it because this is really the relational aspect of the experience, and I think about I have a lot of mentees, and a lot of them from right here at Oswego, and it's very interesting some of the conversations that we have about making sure you're honing your skills and kind of what that means. You're definitely getting tons of skills from experiences that you're on, and definitely pay attention to that. But if you're a content creator, and I want you guys to pipe in here if you agree or not, if you're a content creator, you should definitely be creating content and different, iterations of it, the crappy stuff, the things that are great, having people that you trust to look at it, to give you feedback. I just think it's very important. I had a young lady who I work with who we were going to get her a meeting with Spike Lee because we're connected that way. And it was interesting because I said to her, well, before we even have this conversation, let's see what you're working on. And she said, the last project I have is what I did in college. And I'm like, oh my God, you didn't pick up your Apple phone and produce. There are films that were nominated for awards that were done on Apple phone. So you have to make sure that you are in your craft and you're producing assets and materials because that's a way of learning. So I just think it's a very important piece if you guys want to weigh in.
Yeah, I wanted to speak to that because I didn't spend much time in production like these guys, but I've always been writing, and I think you always have to have 3 projects going. You've got the one you're really working on now, you got the one that's already kind of out there, and then you have the one that you're creating and thinking about. And you don't want to become one. I was just in LA, and you see all these people there, and everyone's like, oh yeah, I'm working on a screenplay. And you're like, well, have you started it? And well, no, but I have this great idea, and it's all right here, and I'm just going to get it out. And you're like, it's not going to happen. And so I think you have to your point, and same if you want to be a filmmaker, if you want to be a director, don't talk about it. Go out and make short films. Get them into festivals. Get noticed. You look at all the directors today, they all have at least 4 or 5 solid shorts under their belt before someone's going to hire them to be a director. So the same thing goes with screenwriters. And it used to be when I was breaking in, you would really have to know someone to find an agent. Now you have all these great script contests, and yes, someone's looking at them. Assistants are judging them. They're hired by their bosses to find the next script. You find an assistant who likes your script, you always want to ask for something. So you're going to say, look, I'm happy to work on this with you. Let's say it's a producer. Let's say it's Jeremy. Jeremy likes your screenplay at American High. You know what you tell Jeremy? You're like, I'd love to do this with you, but you've got to help me find an agent. And that will continue furthering my career. I think I went off a book here. Sorry.
Oh, that was
But
perfect.
yeah, but I think that you've got to always be working hard, but you've got to don't be afraid to ask for things. So if you're going to meet someone and advocate for yourself, yes. Thanks.
I would just add to what you were saying is we're in such a new world right now where you guys are graduating at a time, or you guys are graduating at a time where everything that we're saying is going to be different in a year. And you have the opportunity right now to create and learn all of the new tools that are out there. You talk about making sizzles, and you learn how to make a sizzle reel, learn how to market yourself, learn how to, you're all on social media except for you right there. I'm kidding. But yeah, it's every company we're not a movie company, we're a media, we're an entertainment company. I don't even know what to call ourselves right now because we're doing so many different things, from making films to making online content with American High Shorts, where we've built up just over the past year, we've built up our social media, and but I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to, it's just telling stories, but it's a different form. And we look at people who are your age or younger, and we're like, oh, that person's really funny. That person's got person's got a lot of following. That person has a lot of, good skits on TikTok. That person's in a really fun crew, and we'll hire them to come participate. And when they're amazing, there's a lot of opportunity. So just don't sit around and wait for a job. Don't worry about getting hired to do something, because those jobs are going to be going away very quickly, and they're going to be replaced by the creators and the artists. And I would just say find the thing that you love to do the most and figure out how to just start doing it literally right now. Not now, like in a couple hours. Yeah.
Not right this second. No.
Stay here, please.
Yeah, please stay present.
And the other thing too is that you don't know when opportunity is going to strike. I mean, that's it's been my career, fully. It's like I've been in a place having a conversation with someone or holding peanuts in water, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, actually we want you on the team. Those things happen, but you have to be ready. You have to be ready. And if we're continuing to do our work and creating our content and all the good stuff, you're in it.
Mm-hmm. And I think as far as for all of our students out there, this can be really inspiring for you. I know Juliet speaks to this a lot about taking advantage of the opportunities right here, right? The internships, every opportunity on campus, going to events, because you never know where they're going to lead. You never know who you're going to network with or meet. So great, thank you. I love this question from a student, and I thought some of them I reworded, but this one I didn't, because I thought it was just it was perfect. So whatever student wrote this, great job.
It's a lot of pressure on that question right there. It's a lot of pressure you're putting on that question.
Really setting
This
it
better
up.
be a really good question.
So get ready. The TV and film industry has been evolving in terms of diversity and inclusion. In the work you do, how do you raise awareness to the important issues and unrepresented stories and people in the media? I would love for all of you to touch on that. Whoever would like. Juliet, do you want to start? I'm looking right at you.
Can you repeat
Sure,
that question?
I would love to. Probably said it very quickly. The TV and film industry has been evolving in terms of diversity and inclusion.
I thought you said devolving. That's why I was like, what?
Oh, no,
okay.
evolving.
Okay.
In the work you do, how do you raise awareness to important issues and underrepresented stories and people in the media?
So in terms of my work as a professor, I really encourage students to write what they know and where they're at. And so don't write about some old white guy, write about what you know. But in terms of what I do, in terms of the stories I write, I mean, this is a tricky issue and there's been a lot written about it, especially for novelists, and some people have lost contracts over it. If there was a white woman who wrote a book all about the Hawaiian people, and she sold it, and then she had to back out of it because it wasn't what she knew. So I think this is a really interesting topic right now, and there's been a lot of discussion about this in terms of, well, why can't you just research it? Why can't you write about anybody? But I think the answer is no. I think you do need to write about what you know. So having said that, though, it doesn't mean that I can't write colorblind, and I think that's the answer. I never really indicate, I indicate gender, but I don't indicate ethnicity. And that's what I've loved about the last 4 movies for Lifetime, is I love how they've cast it, and very wide range of diversity and ethnicity, and it's been really fun to see that happen. And I think that's important for everyone, right, at colorblind. What do you think, Jeremy?
Well, I usually write under an alias, and as a black woman for all my. And no, I'm kidding.
It's fitting though.
So our American High, the idea behind American High was, for me, I was inspired by the John Hughes movies, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and Breakfast Club, and 16 Candles, and they weren't making those movies anymore. So I thought it would be incredible to remake those movies. And then I went back and kind of watched the movies as an adult, and I don't know if you guys have seen those movies recently, but it's pretty much all just white people, rich white people telling stories. And I never really noticed that until I was an adult.
And they're all from Highland Park.
They're all from Highland Park, and John Hughes wrote what he knew. And listen, they're all like universal stories and about love and first time you figure out who you love and who you are, and that your parents aren't perfect, and the first time that you steal a car and accidentally drive it into a lake, or not that that's ever happened to me, but when we set out to make American High, we wanted to tell those universal stories at first in high school, but we wanted to tell them from voices that were not quite represented in the movies that inspired me. So while we're still telling funny comedies about a road trip between two best friends, they're not the white dudes who and
It could actually be women. Women could have a road trip.
they are. We've now
you've
done
done some good ones.
three female road trip movies.
Really, Juliet and I are going on a road trip.
Yeah, right after this.
Well, click on AmericanHigh.com for some inspiration. But
No,
yeah, I
I've
do
seen
think.
them. Those were great. Yeah.
Well, ultimately, it's a really challenging question, and it brings up a lot of conversation. And the ultimate answer is going to be money talks. At the end of the day, it's a business, and if your movie makes money, people are going to want to tell more. They're going to hire you to make more movies, and it doesn't matter what color you are or what gender you are. If that movie's good and it makes money, somebody's going to want more of it. So it's the sad truth of our business, and no matter how many incentives are given, or how well-intentioned the artists are, no matter how much we can push, if a movie's successful, boom, you're making another one.
I think you're right, but I'm going to offer one counterpoint. What was the biggest movie of the year? Biggest movie of the year. Everyone? What
Murder
was it?
Mystery 2.
Okay, besides that,
Oh,
what was
okay.
it? It was Barbie. And do we have a lot of female-driven stories in production? I don't think so. Sadly, they think, oh, well, that means Barbie did so well, we're going to make some more toy movies. And which was really not what Barbie was. And Barbie is very much a female-driven, very female story, and men, and Ken off. But anyway, so I hope you're right, Jeremy, but I don't know. Because I think that was a huge success, and based on that, we should see like more than 60% of our movies should all be female-driven. And I don't think that's true. I think what it is the people at the top, it's all those network executives who have the purse strings, and we'll see what David Zaslav does. We'll see what Bob Iger does and what they want to do. But I hope you're right, because then we would see a lot of female movies.
Yeah, I would anticipate lots of doll movies coming
I know,
out, for
which
sure.
is not what it was. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Okay, so this
I got
is-
on my soapbox.
I'm going
Yeah.
to raise you up a little bit higher.
Thank you.
So it's been an interesting experience with diversity, equity, inclusion. Jeremy, you're absolutely right. I sat in boardrooms with the sales team where we talked about DEI. And I remember my first years at HBO, The Wire was packaged. You guys know The Wire, the series The Wire? So it was packaged and was selling like nobody's business. But we had other beautiful movies like Lackawanna Blues and Disappearing Acts. There was beautiful black movies and movies featuring folks of color. And I'd have to tell you, I got so depressed sitting in those meetings and didn't realize until later on that the question would come up, well, why aren't we selling Disappearing Acts? Why aren't we selling other black programs? And I mean, thank God my bosses were very blatant and they would say, black movies don't sell. So at that point in my career and that time, you kind of just had to sit with it. And I had a black boss at the time as well. So we would get together and be like, WTF, what is this all, right? What's going on? And then how do we move into like the next beat of moving our stories forward? So I challenged one of the sales executives, Jennifer Bowen, good friend of mine now, and I said to her, you have the power to move the stories and to say why this story makes, why you should buy it, and why it should have this dollar associated with it, and expanding stories to make sure that the platforms and the plethora of programming that you have represents everyone, right? You have the power to move that needle. And she said, yes, but this is not the time. right? So eventually an Issa Rae comes along and she's like, look, this is the story, this is the black experience, you're not going to shape it, you're not going to change it, but you're going to leave it to the multicultural marketing team to market it correctly, right? And we'll make sure that you have something to package it up correctly in order to help tell a story that belongs to a certain group of people. I mean, Greta had a very hard time with Barbie for a long time before that movie got up. And to see, because she took full control of the experience to tell the story through marketing, that's what changes the game. So we have to change the culture in the way we do things and move and not stick to one way of doing things, right? And say that that's the only way to do it, right? And I think that's a bigger challenge. Yes, certain types of movies make money, and I think that's true. I think, but we can expand that and change it by spinning the story and shifting the story.
I also think it starts here. It starts in education, and it starts with people from diverse backgrounds seeing people up here on panels from diverse backgrounds and saying, holy cow, I can do that, and feeling empowered in that way, or seeing somebody in a movie that kind of looks like them and say, oh, that's like I could be that person. And yeah, it's been probably like 10, I think, because I remember sitting in the same rooms where it was like black movies don't sell, and I was like, I don't understand, like Will Smith, like he's kind of a big movie star. It was on the Kevin Hart movie, so the first movie I directed was a Kevin Hart movie, and it was Sony, and it was they were talking about like international sales, like black movies weren't being sold internationally, and big part of it was that they weren't putting money into selling them internationally. So it was so crazy to me. It's funny, I wrote The Wedding Ringer for Vince Vaughn. And it took 15 years to get, like, from the time I wrote it. So I got a call that said, do you want to make this movie with Kevin Hart? I said, yeah, of course. I love Kevin Hart. So I had to rewrite the script. And I was like, okay. And the change that I made, it was said, Jimmy Callahan, tall, 30s, tall and handsome, stands with a microphone. And I remember just in the rewrite, I just crossed out tall. And I turned it in. It was the same. It was literally the same script. To me, it's like just tell stories that are going to be impactful from marketing when you're doing a small, like when you're doing a short campaign, 30 seconds, or you're doing Instagram, whatever you're doing, do something that's impactful and just tell that story.
And it's nice, I just wanted to add a last little thing here. It is nice that there are teams like Henri's and stuff, like, and for us I'm not working at the actual MTV network, but we do send our exports of our episodes to MTV, and we get network notes back, and there are stories regarding transgender women, and we shape them in the way that we believe is, makes the most sense and, connects with the viewer the most. And a lot of times we are, our industry is working really hard to hire the correct people for the correct jobs, which is kind of new and really exciting. But MTV and other networks, they all have social awareness teams. And those teams have the right people on them. And they are watching it down and saying, this isn't how it goes, or, it should be maybe presented more in this fashion. And I think it's really important to have those teams moving forward, to make sure that the story is being told correctly, like you said.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so to add on to that, so we do something called sensitivity reads. So in one of my screenplays, we had a whole Indian subplot, and so we made sure we had different friends read the script who were from an Indian background, from the country India, and we corrected certain things. So that's something you can do as well to write different stories, yeah. And the other thing I will say finally is that at Lifetime, they had a nice mandate where all the Christmas movies had to be directed by women. So to your point, they were trying to expand the diversity of the behind-the-scenes people.
Great, that's fantastic. I want to save time for some of our, I see we have 2 students already lined up with questions. So I'm going to shoot to the first student back there. Will you just say your name?
Hi, I'm Kat McGreevy. I'm a senior theater major here. My question is actually for Jeremy. So working in American High, how do you find a balance between your many different roles of producer, writer, director, and not to mention CEO?
I drink a lot. It's a very good question, Kathy. It's really hard. I usually do. First of all, I have an incredible team, and I see a few people who have been part of our team. I see Jackie over there, and we have an incredible team, and finding the people who I can kind of trust to do their thing, and I try not as best as I can to not micromanage things. And if you talk about opportunity. If Henri, you were saying like if there's somebody there, I can't tell you how many times there's been a ridiculous opportunity for somebody to do something, and I'm turning to the person who's literally standing right there, who walked in the door asking for a job like 3 days before, and now I'm like, okay, you can go produce. So there's a lot of just being there at the right time. I don't know if that answers your question. Balance is not really in my strategy or my Rolodex. It's not in my vocabulary.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have one other question, and if anyone has questions, you can feel free to line up down there.
Hi, my name is Ian Katz. I'm a sophomore theater major. My question is for all of you. All of you are all incredibly accomplished in your fields, but I would like to know which project are you most proud of professionally and why?
I'm proud of any of them because it's so hard to get something made. That's really a lame answer, but no, I think I'm always most proud of the most recent one too, because that's fresh in my mind. And it is to pull all these elements together. I mean, Jeremy makes it look easy. He just kind of rolls into town and makes movie after movie after movie, but what he does is really hard. It's not to say that it can't be done, but it takes a lot of pieces lining up to happen. So I think I'm proud of, actually I'm not proud of one of them, but I will never admit what that is.
And I'll add to that. As I talk about like Game of Thrones over and over again, working on Game of Thrones and the international campaigns globally from start to finish and being very skeptical in the beginning because I said, are we really selling dragons, guys? And then I had another DEI conversation about dragons versus black people, but that's a whole other story. But being a part of the growth and the evolution of that experience through marketing, because of course the content is fabulous and the storytelling is brilliant, but connecting with broadcasters throughout the world to tell the story from their perspective, to promote it to their demographics, and one of the greatest things in my life, because I love storytelling, and I love visuals, and I love ideas and curiosity, and all that lives in those campaigns for those 8 seasons.
I think my favorite is Man vs. Food. I've spoken about it a couple times today, just because that's where my heart is. I worked on it for a few years, and I kind of, came up with it. And I just love food shows. It's not easy, looking at the raw footage of a delicious burger when you're about to take lunch. It's not healthy. You have to eat a big breakfast. No, but in all seriousness, the crew was amazing, the talent's amazing, and I just really, I have a passion for the food space and the lifestyle space. So, and you get to have a lot of fun with them, and while also educating the viewer on, why people use certain ingredients and where this food comes from and why it's so special to that town, And you're also promoting local small mom and pop businesses and making them nationally known. And I don't think a lot of people realize that when they watch Food Network, things like that, cooking channels. So, yeah, that was one of my favorites.
I think it's hard to, I think that the thing that I'm most proud of, what's your name again, Matt? Ian. I just called you Max, but nice to meet you, Ian. I would just say the team that we've assembled at American High and the ability to really pivot to do things that are new based on the world around us and this industry has been pretty incredible. I am really, really proud. We were doing a movie called Plan B, and we were ready to go, and we had our entire crew ready to go, and then COVID hit. And everyone was just kind of sitting around like, well, what do we do? This pandemic is spreading. And I saw that we had, next to our school, there was a couple that were printing 3D masks out of their apartment. And they were literally like right next to the school. And I reached out to them because I saw an article in the paper, and I said, we have a whole space, we have a crew, everyone's kind of looking to do something. How do we help? And just with the incredible team and that was there, I wasn't even there. I just made the connection, and they managed to create, like, set everything up, and everybody volunteered their time, and they were able to deliver close to 50,000 masks to just right away before they were being made, which was pretty incredible. We got a call from Make-A-Wish, and there was a young boy who was 11 years old who his wish was to write and direct and star in an action movie, and without hesitation, our producer reached out and said, like, can we do this? And I said, absolutely. And the entire company just stopped everything they did, and they all made a movie and participated, and it was truly the most incredible, inspiring thing. And it's the ability to have a team that knows priorities and just wants to kind of be awesome. And that's what I'm really proud of, even though I wasn't there for either of those.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Awesome. I think we have time for one more question.
Hello, my name is Jude DiBiase. I'm a cinema and screen major and a theater minor. I was wondering, a lot of us have faced, I'm sure, rejection and no's and maybes and tweak it a little bit. How do you guys persevere after that? Like, what are some tactics that you guys use?
Can I respond with the same answer for the previous question? Of drinking, or no? No.
I mean, we go to a state school. I think it's...
Oh, okay, got it.
No, that was very genuine.
I'll go for it. So, yeah, I think it's important to keep pushing on. And what I would say, bottom line, you have an idea when you leave here of what exactly you want to do. I really highly encourage you to keep an open mind. And I also encourage you all to not pigeonhole yourselves. You know, you can be a rock star editor, and you should, pursue that if you love it. You don't love it. But, try directing, try writing, try gaffing, whatever it is. I think that it may lead to something even more that you love, and and it does make you more marketable as well. So that's the beauty of being here, and the beauty of, not to make it an advertisement, SUNY Oswego, because you are a big fish in a small pond. You are able to pick up that equipment as soon as you get here and join all these organizations and jump in and run shit. So, long story short, make it your own, but keep your interests wide, and you will find more luck in the future.
Great. All right, well.
I can answer that too, so thanks. So when I got my first agent, I got some really good advice, and it was, be prepared now to be rejected every day. And so you have to kind of spin it and look at it as a positive thing. By getting rejected, it means that someone's looking at your material. And sooner or later, somebody will say yes. And all it takes is one yes. And usually if I get one good phone call a year, that's great. Just don't answer the phone anymore. So take it as a positive. And, if you want, have a drink.
I think that's,
with Jeremy.
Yeah, I think that's such a good place to wrap this all up. I want to thank all of you for joining us today. Thank you so much to our panelists. Thank you all for joining us today. This has been really an amazing conversation. So thank you. I think we have one more person to close this up, but I'm just going to take this one more chance to thank you all so much. This is my first media summit, so it was really exciting to be part of it. So thank you all. Thank you.
first of all, how about another hand for our fantastic panel? I'm Dr. David Kreider. I'm the faculty director for this year's Dr. Lewis B. O'Donnell Media Summit. And I want to thank all of you for being here today to hear from this terrific panel of industry experts. On behalf of the numerous students, faculty, and staff members who helped put this event together, we truly appreciate your support. I also want to thank Juliette, Henri, and Jeremy and Christy for agreeing to be a part of our panel, and also Megan Mazzacone for serving as our moderator. All of us here at SUNY Oswego are grateful that you gave your time to be a part of the Media Summit, especially our alumni and our own Professor Giglio. Finally, I want to thank everyone who played a part in preparing and putting on today's events. It is truly a team effort to make something like this happen, and we couldn't have done it without you. So thanks especially to our event director, Katie Carlin, assistant event director, Kate Salamita, our dean of SCMA, Dr. Jennifer Knapp, SCMA secretary, Candace Rasbeck, associate dean, Kelly Rowe, chair of communication studies, Professor Jessica Rear, chair of cinema and screen studies, Professor Joshua Adams, Laura Kelly from the alumni office, our former dean of SCMA, Fritz Masser, and Provost Scott Furlong. Students, please remember to scan the QR code on your way out of the theater. That kind of serves as your exit ticket, and it's going to confirm your attendance at today's program, so you can all get the extra credit I'm sure you are hungering for. Please stick around for the Career Connector Networking event that's going to get started shortly over in Tyler Art Gallery, and we've got a number of great alumni who would love to meet you. So thank you once again, and enjoy the rest of your day.